Welcome to Garden of Lights. I'm Susan Howington, Family Consumer Science Agent with the Henry County Cooperative Extension, partnership with the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension. Today we're going to talk about spinach, and we're also going to hear from Frank Hancock, our Agriculture and Natural Resource Agent, and he's going to talk about spring gardens. So we'll see you back in just a little bit on Garden of Lights. Welcome back to Garden of Lights. Today we're talking about spinach, and you know I love spinach and I can have it all year round. And what is so good about spinach? Well, I will say this about here is about a cup of spinach. That means you can eat all this for about 6 calories. So you can see spinach is great to have because it is also nutritious for us. It is saturated, cholesterol free. It is also low in sodium. It is very, very high in vitamin A and C. And it also has a lot of calcium and great in fiber. So as far as the nutrition follows, it is powerhouse. And then we move into how do we select it? So you know, when I look at it at the grocery stores, I'm always looking at the bags. And if it's on sale, that's what I'm gonna buy. But a lot of times I like the containers because it keeps the spinach from getting damaged or bruised, and spinach can bruise very easily. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you look at the spinach, make sure you look at it, make sure it's green, crisp, you know, through the bag if you can. If it's loose where you can pick it up yourself, that's even better. But look at it and make sure you look at it crisp, green. Make sure you don't see any kind of damage to it like insects or any kind of spots on it, because that tells you maybe you might want to not pick that bag or that container. So keep that in mind when you're choosing it. Now, as far as storage goes, you can store it in your refrigerator for about 5 to 7 days. But hopefully in those 5 to 7 days, you know exactly what you're going to do with it. So, and also it freezes very well too. So in those 5 to 7 days, if you don't know what you want to do, freeze it, because that's the best way to go. That prolongs it, and then you can bring it back out for any kind of recipe down the line that you might want to bake. And if you're really thinking about spinach, you'll want to think about recipes out there that you might want to try. And we're going to try one today that I know you're going to like. But first, let's go check out Frank in the garden and see how the spring garden is starting off at our office. We'll see you back in just a little bit on Garden of Lights.
Okay, today we're back up here in the community garden, and we're going to talk a little bit about getting ready for our spring garden. We had a pretty good fall season. This spring we've had a tremendous amount of rain, so we're out here at the end of February, and it's a pretty cold day out here. But our fall garden, for the most part, is finished. I'm standing here beside some broccoli. This broccoli got harvested a month or so ago, and when you harvest broccoli, it will send out some little shoots and you'll get a little bit more broccoli off of it. But what's happened here is we've had so much rain that little second batch of broccoli just never did perfect, and so we're sort of getting ready to go to seed here. So all of this broccoli is going to be ready to come out. If I can pull it up, I've got a pretty good root system here. But all of this will come out now, and we're getting ready to do our spring garden. So we're going to do some soil samples. We've had a tremendous amount of rain, and so we haven't had very many days to even think about the garden. And it's still a little bit wet out here today, so I till up a little bit just to show you what we're getting ready to do, but it needs to dry out just a little bit more. So our garden is going to come out, and this will all go in the compost pile, and then we'll get in here and we'll do some soil samples. And like I say, it's too wet, so I'm not really going to save these soil samples for today, but we'll pull these plugs out, bag them up, but right now we're kind of dealing with mud, so we really won't pull a soil sample, but it's time As soon as you get some dry weather, you need to pull a soil sample. If you need lime, it takes lime 2 or 3 months before it actually starts to change the pH. So you need to get a head start on all of that. We got a new soil probe here in the office, so we don't have to bend over to take a soil plug. We just do it standing up. And so that's kind of what we get, but soil samples need to be dry. If you bring me a wet soil sample, I got to pour it out in the office there on some newspaper and let it dry before I can send it in. So get me some dry soil samples when you get them, if it ever quits raining. So that is what we're doing in the garden right now. We've still got some plants that are growing here. We got a good bit of cabbage. A lot of this stuff will be going to the food pantry here shortly. All of it that's still, that's still worth having. Some of it is just finished. Once it starts going to seed, then the quality of it goes downhill fast. And so that's just an annual thing that we have to do to keep this garden going. We got some beds here that didn't get planted this fall. They've got a few pretty nice stand of henbit and annual bluegrass and that sort of stuff. We use it when we're teaching a class on weeds. We can bring people up here and show them how to identify some of these weeds. And all that will get cleaned out here over the next 3 or 4 weeks. People ask me all the time, when is the danger of frost gone? If you look at the 30-year average, our last frost days are right about the end of March. But we have a frost on over into April. So I usually tell people to be safe to plan on about the 2nd week of April before they start putting in their spring garden. We got to get the soil warmed up. We get better germination on things like okra and that if the soil's up in the 60-degree range, before we start. Right now, the soil would be too cold to plant anything other than your early spring crops, things like Irish potatoes. They could be put in now. But a lot of your vegetables are going to want the soil. Tomatoes are going to like warmer soil than we got right now. So we're still a month away from getting ready to plant very much. But so what we're doing now is we're getting our beds prepared so that we'll be ready when the right time comes, and hopefully the rain will let up a little bit so we can get some good dry soil samples and be ready to roll for the spring. And that's about what we got going on in the garden this time of the year. And I think we're going to go in and see what Susan is fixing in the kitchen right now.
Welcome back to Garden of Lights. Today we're going to talk about spinach, and we're going to be making a spinach frittata. And some people think about quiche, but what's the difference between quiche and frittata? Well, quiche usually has the crust. Frittatas do not have the crust, and they also have less milk. So I'm going to start off making it. The first thing you're going to need is 6 eggs, and I'm going to go ahead and put them in this bowl. And then you're also going to need 2 egg whites, and I already have them ready to go, and I'm going to add it to my eggs. And then for this one also, you don't need as much milk. So this is about 2 tablespoons, and this is fat-free milk, so I'm going to add it to my eggs. And then what you want to do is you want to whisk these eggs together with the milk. And I try to break my egg yolks because usually it's easier for me to whisk together. But I do want it really well whisked. That means I want the whites and the yolks really well mixed together, because it does go really nicely in your pan when you're pouring it. I'm using a pie pan, but if you had a black skillet, that would work just as good. So it's whatever you have that you want to pour it in is what you can use. I still want to mix it up just a little bit more because I want it to look really good as far as the yellow and the whites mix really good, because it also helps when you pour it into your container too, that it's all mixed up very well. Okay, so I have that mixed up. So next we're going to add our other ingredients. So I talked earlier about spinach and how well it freezes. So this is a 10-ounce box of frozen spinach. But notice how small it got, because it was a pretty big little square there. But we also drained it. And the recipe is going to tell you to really put it between 2 paper towels and try to drain as much of the liquid off as possible. And that's what I've already done. So as you'll see, when you cook spinach, no matter if you saute it, cook it, it always, if you had a big bag of 10 ounces, it's going to come down to about nothing. So it depends on how well you want to really add spinach to it. So I'm going to add it, and I'm just going to kind of mix it around, because I do want the spinach mixed all through the eggs. I don't want it clumped in one area, and that's another thing it'll tell you in the recipe, to take a fork and just kind of flake it with the spinach, so that way it's kind of flaky, so when you add it to your frittata, it mixes really well. Next I'm going to add a little bit of onion, and this is about a half a cup or about a fourth of a cup, depending on how much you want to add. And then this is a low-fat cheese. This is about a half a cup or a fourth of a cup, whichever you want to add. And you'll notice I didn't add a lot of cheese. It's also going to add some salt and pepper to it. So I've already got that mixed in. I'm going to add that to it. And then it will tell you to add a dash of hot sauce. So this is about one teaspoon, I think, is what I just poured in here. And that's about, when you start dashing, it's not going to be that much. So you can see I kind of dashed it around. So it's not a whole lot. So I'm going to mix this up. And this is so simple, but so good, because you've got that wonderful spinach in this frittata that's going to make it so healthy for you, because you're eating such a great vegetable in that frittata. So I've got it mixed up really good. Notice I didn't put a whole lot of cheese. It's mostly egg. So I have it ready to go. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pour it into a pie shell. This pie shell has been sprayed with some spray, so it will keep it from sticking. So whatever you like to use as far as your spray goes, it will be fine. I'm going to put it all in here. Try to get it all off of my whisk too. And see if I can just put this over here. And do a little stacking here. And then all you have to do is take this. You're going to bake it in the oven around 400, about 25 minutes, and depending on your oven as far as when you need to take it out. But I'd say after 20 minutes you want to test it, make sure it's firm in the center, and also you'll see a little bit of brown around the edges, and it's perfect, ready to come out. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven and get it baking. So when we come back, Frank and I will be tasting that frittata, and I can't wait. See you back in just a little bit on Garden of Lights. Welcome back to Garden of Lights. Well, Frank, we have a spinach frittata. So we're definitely getting our iron to build some muscles, right?
All right.
So let's try it. I'm just waiting to try it. And I hope it's not too hot, because I just took it out of the oven. And we don't want anything too hot. I'm going to kind of do some.
Yeah, we still got a little spinach in our garden.
Oh, it's hot.
Now.
It is hot. Well, you know, I hear you're going to get ready to start that spring garden too.
Yep, it's time to get ready for the spring garden.
Here we go. Oh, and it's coming out so nice.
All right.
And it's steaming though, so don't burn your mouth. Let's see if I can get this one cut. So this we could eat for breakfast, lunch, supper, any time of the day.
That's pretty good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
The eggs and everything, the onions all mix really well together, and it's just a little bit of cheese, not much. The good thing is we don't have a crust, so that means it's less calories.
All right.
That is good.
A little warm, but
A little warm.
about right.
That's good. And the good thing about it Because even if you put it in the refrigerator, it would heat up really nice to eat it again if you wanted to warm it up, or you could eat it cold.
Yep.
You need to check out the website. You're going to love this spinach frittata. Frank and I will see you next time on Garden of Lights.
I wonder if Popeye ever had any of this.